Hello buddy, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on Carrick Mooftar playing as the Greenskins against the forces of the Lizard people. And this match I mostly just wanted to test out a lot of the changed things for the Greenskins, or most of the changed things for the Greenskins. Obviously the patch wasn't the hugest change ever for the Greenskins. They by and large they stayed the same, but two very big, or well, one very big and one small change were implemented. First and foremost, Crimson Killers got a huge makeover. The unit now has 60 models. Previously only had 45. Now it has 60, and it is beastly. It's basically been nerfed across the board. It's gone up in price by 150 gold. Its attack speed's gone down. Its weapon strength's gone down. Its armor's gone down. But it is still a Black Orc unit with splash, and and now it's actually got the tankiness of a Black Orc unit. So that's been pretty cool. And I really wanted to give them a shot and see if I could see how well they perform. And I figured, you know what, Lizardmen, whatever, we can make them work. Previously, the Crimson Killers, while being stupidly powerful in melee, were just so squishy that you really never brought them because they were such an easy target to focus out. But now I definitely have hopes that they can work out a lot better. And they're such a cool looking unit. Like, just look at these guys, these fancy Black Orcs with their red armor and dual wielding their choppas. They just look amazing. Besides that, the other major change, or semi-major change, was that Night Goblin Shaman's Vindictive Glare has now increased in Winds of Magic cost. Now it costs 5 and 9 Winds of Magic instead of 4 and 8, which is not crazy. It still needs to be more nerfed, I think, but it is definitely slowly getting there. As for my build here, well, it's pretty standard. For my Lord, Wartsag, nothing fancy there. He's got Effigy of the Git. He's got basically his full kit, but for spells we only have Fits of Gork, and here we go. Of course, just trying to get the most buffage for our front line of Black Orcs. We, of course, have Opponent with Staff and all that sort of stuff. Effigy for the crowd control. Wartsag's Revenge, I figured, you know what, why not have that miscast chance bonus. The front line is 4 units of Black Orcs, and then the Crimson Killers anchoring things in the center. On the peripheries, we do have 2 units of Goblins over here, 1 unit of Goblins over there, basically just there to soak up missile pressure. If my opponent brought a bunch of Chameleon Skinks, these guys are there to zone them away. Second line, we do have 2 units of Nasty Skulkers. They're to try to control big monsters with their smoke bombs. The smoke bombs don't last super long, only 21 seconds, but still, getting a 76% slow on a big dino can be the difference between being able to deal with them and not. We do, of course, have the Night Goblin Shaman, who only has Vindictive Glare. Nothing fancy there, but for 230 gold, or even less, I think, he does make a very good counter sniper against Skink Chiefs, who are, of course, an annoying sniper unit, and Skink Priests, such as this one here on their Pterodons. Finally, we do have 2 units of Orc Arrow Boys, as well as a Rusty Arrow unit. And I do keep in mind with Vindictive Glare, it is worth mentioning, I think, that it also works really well against Slaane's Mage Priest. So basically whatever your opponent brings as a caster option, the Vindictive Glare will do well against it. And that's really what matters for such a budget choice. For my opponent, he decided to go with a bit of an interesting comp. For his Lord Kroq-Gar, Kroq-Gar's kind of fallen off in favor ever since Cold-Blooded got reworked. But he's still a potent choice. He does have Sacred Spawning of Zodal, Deadly Onslaught, and Swiftness of Eatzel. So definitely very strong. He's got ridiculous melee stats. And if he gets into close quarters, he will be able to mince through my front line or my back line, especially Wartsag, very, very easily. Alongside him, we do have a Skink Priest of Beasts here, who's only got Flock of Doom and Wild Heart. So he's going to be looking to whittle down my infantry blobs, perhaps, and harassing a little bit that way. Though definitely not going to be dropping huge amounts of buffs for sure. You can see an Overcast Flock of Doom going down there on the Black Orcs. For his front line, my opponent does have 4 units of Saurus Spears, looking to basically just protect the big monsters. Feral Bastillodon, Feral Stegodon, some Kroxigors, single Skink cohort there to flank. But mostly it's all about these spears, protecting these big dinos as they maul my infantry. On the flanks, we do have 4 units of cold ones, feral cold ones, 2 over there, 2 over there. They're going to be diving in. My opponent decides to use them as an basically a guided missile here, and he's just going to be throwing them at my Black Orcs, which is going to be interesting for sure. You can't see the miscast there because Wartsag goes in, and the poor Skink Priest loses a huge chunk of HP. In the meantime, back there, you can see there's some Chameleon Skinks looking to harass, but they're not going to be getting too much done. But we're definitely going to see how the cold ones here perform. And you can see here I'm pushing my Shaman forward, trying to get that Vindictive Glare off. It does have, I think, 200 meters range. And in the meantime, the cold ones are going to dive in, but the Black Orcs do get their counter charges. And of course, the cold ones, while they are pretty powerful damage output-wise, they do have very poor stats. And they rampage. So once we're able to remove a quarter of their HP, they're going to be doomed. Over here, Vindictive Glare going in, and just watch as these missiles come in, zooming in on this poor Skink Priest. He's got 2300 HP. In come all the missiles, just smack dab in his face. And he's just buckles instantly. Leadership tanking to negative 136. wavers, breaks, shatters instantaneously. So some crazy stuff going down. Elsewhere, Black Orcs with the Nasty Skulkers providing a slow are going to mince through these poor Feral Cold ones with contemptuous ease. Now, granted, this is actually something worth mentioning, I think. Look at these Black Orcs, for example. My opponent managed to shave off about 2,000 HP on these guys with the Feral Cold ones, which definitely shows potency. Keep in mind, this is a 450 gold unit, so it's dirt cheap, and they were able to take off a solid quarter of the HP on a unit of Black Orcs, which is pretty nuts. With, I mean, no help. So I think my opponent should have been much more conservative here with his Feral Cold ones, but otherwise, you know, it's pretty impressive how much damage they did. Over here, our spears are going to dive in against the Crimson Killers, which is going to be very one-sided. Crimson Killers are just built to munch through infantry and are definitely chopping through these guys pretty quickly. Wah goes off. That burst of green suddenly coming up, and down go these poor Star Spears, losing thousands of HP very, very quickly. And the same thing is basically happening, or repeating itself across the line, with Skink Cores intercepted by Goblins, Black Orcs munching through the spears, and my opponent is forced to try to pull his Croxigors in on my archers, but we are going to interdict them, hit them with an effigy with a Git, pile in with Wordsack, and pepper them down with a crossfire from our air boys. And my opponent is in the meantime playing it safe back here with Krokar and the Feral Stegodon, but that does mean they're not well positioned to interdict here. Now, if we do look, we can see the normal Black Orcs not performing as well. These Black Orcs did definitely take a bit of a pounding. They are losing some HP. Krokar just plows through them. This was the more mauled unit. They got hit by the Flock of Doom earlier. But you can see Krokar here actually takes a meaty hit. So if we look at Krokar's starting HP, Krokar's starting HP was 6,200. He lost almost 1,000, or about 1,000 HP from that single Vindictive Glare. And it was an overcast, but still, that shows how crazy Vindictive Glare can be. Even against a well-armored hero like Krokar, who's got 95 armor, it performed so well. Elsewhere, well, the Black Orcs have basically won, and my opponent's front line is gone, and the balance of power is decisively swinging in my favor. If we look, the Croxigors in full flight. They will be able to rally because I'm not pursuing them, but still not going to get much done. Over here, the Chameleon Kings start harassing my back line, or the back of my front line, but we're shortly going to pivot my spears and go zone them off. The Goblin Spearmen, of course, serving very little purpose besides soaking up this sort of damage, but with their silver shields, they're well kitted out to zone off this sort of harass. Elsewhere, Black Orcs, you know, they're struggling a little bit against the Stegodon, but with the incoming support of the Crimson Killers, they will be able to lay the smack down on them. And do keep in mind, these guys still have 2,600 HP almost. Black Orcs are just such a stupidly powerful unit. Elsewhere, Krokar does rout off some of the Orc Air Boys, but in the meantime, we did manage to actually snare the Feral Bastillodon, beat him down, Croxigor's getting torn apart, and a Smoke Bomb goes down, Krokar dropping his speed to 18, basically making him a pitiful cripple, just not able to move. The Nasty Skulkers lose a few miles there, but these brave Gobos are taking one for the team, just shanking him, nipping at his heels, poking away at Krokar. I did try to get a cast down. You can see it actually miscast on my Night Goblin Shaman. He's channeling some magic and gets knocked around or something and doesn't get it off. And this was really annoying. This was actually an interesting thing that happened in this game. The Night Goblin Shaman didn't get his spell off. It reset the cooldown, and the miscast went through, so he took damage, which was just ridiculous. And it was a really long wind-up time. And this is one of the things I really do hate about Magic Missiles, and if there's something that needs to be changed about Magic Missiles, I think the wind-up time, or the wind-up time, needs to be reworked. Elsewhere, though, Feral Cold One's being removed from play. Krokar being forced to reconsider his life decisions. He is popping Cold-Blooded on himself, popping Swiftness of Eitzel, but, you know, it's just not going to cut the mustard. Fists of Gork are on these Nasty Skulkers. He has no heals. Even Wordsack's coming in. Unfortunately, because he was in the middle of his jump, the Vindictive Glare did nothing, basically, but we do net Krokar with effigy. He's going to be in a perfect position to get shot to death, and this is going to be game for the Greenskins. So Krokar, they're tumbling to his doom at the last moments. So a close victory for the Greenskins, and honestly, I'd say it was fairly one-sided, but I wanted to show a few things there. First of all, Crimson Killers are now amazing, and I think they are still a rough unit. If your opponent has a lot of shooting, I would not a lot of AP shooting, I would probably not recommend them. But into factions like Chaos, Vampire Counts, High Elves, I could see them being a very potent unit. They've got Splash, they're able to cleave through mobs very, very efficiently, and they're now pretty tanky, so trying to poke away at them is not as effective as it used to be. Before, they were just such an easy unit to whittle down and focus out, and they were such a valuable investment that you'd end up losing 1,400 gold very easily, usually, as Greenskins, whereas now, not so much. Black Orcs otherwise performing as well as usual. Vindictive Glare still stupidly powerful. There was a suggestion made on the forums, I forget who it was making the suggestion, but there was a suggestion to Currently, the way Vindictive Glare works is that you've got the basic cast, and then Overcast simply doubles missiles. And there was a cool suggestion on the forums recommending that Overcast should increase the AP damage on the missiles, but not increase count. And I think that would actually be really good rebalancing of Vindictive Glare. It would help the Greenskins against things they actually struggle against, which is big single monsters with lots of armor. Currently, anything from Shaggoths to Crockguard to Carnosaurs to Stegodons to Bastillodons, even Steam Tanks, really. Now, granted, Steam Tanks are not a very good unit in my opinion, but even against Steam Tanks, Greenskins basically suck against big single monsters with lots of armor. Higher Titans especially, Necrosphinxes, War Sphinxes, all those units. And making Vindictive Glare good against armor, apology there, my throat's a little scratchy. That would be good, I think. It would make Vindictive Glare decent against armor, and it would not make it as oppressive against squishy models like that Skink Priest. We saw in this game how the Skink Priest lost like 2100 HP, 2200 HP in a single shot of 9 Winds of Magic. That's the cost of that's a little over the cost of a Spirit Leech. And it nukes an entire hero. Like, it would take probably 4 or 5 Spirit Leeches to remove a Skink Priest from play in that manner. It took 1. And it was just nuts. And I really don't like that mechanic. I think it's god-awful for gameplay, from a gameplay standpoint. Otherwise, though, I do think this build is decent. There's not much to say there. I do want Vindictive Glare reworked. The other thing I would like to see, and I think showed in this game as well, was magic missiles are kind of wonky. Their wind-up time tends to be very long, even after you've got your normal sort of prep or casting time, but then there's often a wind-up time after that, and you see this. It's really disgusting with Amber Spear. With Amber Spear, the wind-up time after seems to be like 5 to 10 seconds, when oftentimes your caster will just sit there twiddling their thumbs. That's the polite way of saying what they're doing, and they're not really doing anything. They're often getting shot. They're under pressure. You need to get that spell off and fire it off. You can't be having your caster sitting there within range of the enemy, twiddling their thumbs like that. And it happens, and in this case, because it just wasn't going off, I ended up just moving my caster, which canceled the cast, but I had already suffered a miscast penalty. I'd already taken the damage from miscasting, and I'd already, and I lost my the cooldown was reset, which I think is just not good. That's, I think, faulty mechanics. I think if you cancel the spell like that, when it's, because the windup is stupidly long, then you should get your cooldown, and there should be no miscast until it has gone off, and I think you should get your cooldown refunded. And I do think the wind-up times need to be fixed for spells, and it's not just Vindictive Glare. Amber Spear is definitely a spell that suffers a lot from this, and it's not a spell I use a lot, so I'm aware of it there. But Frost Protection as well has issues with casting time, because I do sometimes use that on higher Titans, and they seem to have issues just getting the spell off, and it's really annoying. And even Fireball sometimes casts way a lot later than it should be, and it's honestly annoying. It's not something you can't play around. It's not something you can't deal with. Well, in some cases it is. It's something incredibly troublesome in some cases. And if you're fighting against an opponent with decent range pressure and you need to get your mage firing that Amber Spear off quick, the fact that he has to stand still, or she has to stand still for another 5 to 10 seconds is god awful. And that's something that I really think needs changing. Otherwise, not much to say for this match. I guess my build, I don't have much to say there. I think this is a decent build if you're trying to deal with Lizardmen. It's a very blunt force, not very tactically diverse build, but you just go at your opponent and crump them over the head and probably win. With Lizardmen, my main critique here was that my opponent went in piecemeal. Obviously, not paying attention to the Vindictive Glare, a bit of a misplay. You always want to be very wary of that. I know a lot of people don't necessarily watch YouTubers or streamers. Lotus Moon and Turin have both demonstrated Skink Priests or the Vindictive Glare. It's pretty ridiculous, but I know a lot of people don't pay attention to it, but you want to be aware of it. Otherwise, my main critique would be that my opponent's used a Feral Cold once. He just fed him in early, whereas he could have used them later to suppress my backline or to jump into the back of my Black Orcs, and I think that would have been much better. But those are just my 2 cents. Another option you could always do is not go with Crockguard, bring a Slann Mage Priest with Arcane Forging, or good old Mazdamundi on Zlok with Arcane Forging, and then you can reset your opponent's wall potentially, which is kind of cool. But regardless, those are some of my critiques there. Really, my main critique there was the deployment. And the Feral Cold ones did an impressive job against the Black Orcs, and I really do want to test them out more, because as a sort of a one-shot wonder that you just point at an enemy and do damage, they seem to do well. and it might be worth more testing. But regardless, we'll see. Regardless, I do thank you guys for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed and found it informative and entertaining. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, the usual. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, any requests, don't hesitate to post them, and I will do my best to respond as soon as I can. I do thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.